we were trying to find conditional ways to say yes to the things our kids were coming to us about.
Kids just want to be out of control sometimes.
Instead of reacting negatively, we proactively, positively prevent it by taking these actions.
Everything's positive, but you're teaching them how to think. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Extraordinary Family Life Podcast. We're your hosts, Greg and Rachel Denning. Excited to help you create your extraordinary family life. I think about this every day.
Wait, I have to interject now. We want to help you create the extraordinary family life that God wants for you. This is,
Great.
of course, my new focus, focusing on like the destiny that God has for you and your family.
Awesome.
So I just personally want to make sure we keep putting him as the focus, as the emphasis, because it's not just about us. Of course, we want an extraordinary family life because it's our family and we have to live it, but we want to keep him as the focus. So that's all.
Great. And I think God gives us our good desires, the desire to have a great marriage, the desire to have a great relationship with our kids, the desire to be exceptional parents and partners and to be good people and to do good and to live great lives. So love it. Today, we're answering follow-up questions from our last episode. So our daughter listened to it. She shared it with her friends and they listened to it.
You also have young children.
And so then they got together at a little mom's gathering. And so we love this. We love that parents are listening. They're thinking about it. Then they have an experience with their kids. And then they go, what do I do with that? Because I get the principle. Mm-hmm. We teach the lesson, the principle. And then I go, okay, I get it. I want to do that. That makes sense. I want to do it. And then there's a scenario, situation like, okay, how do I apply the principle in this difficult scenario? And that's exactly where we're at today.
Right. So it will probably be helpful to you if you go back and listen to the last episode just before this one, because essentially, like Greg already said, this is a follow-up to that episode. They listened to it. They said, that sounds amazing. I'm going to read the specific scenario. How do I apply what you just taught in this scenario, right? So that's what we're going to answer today. Of course, with the hope that then we will also get to another question on our daughter's list, because as we mentioned in our last episode, she has a whole bunch of lists as a new mom now, a whole bunch of questions. And so we want to keep going through those. But of course, like Greg already said, this is important to us. We want to have this sort of dialogue so you can say, this scenario, how do we do it? So she says, they both said they really loved what you talked about, especially the idea of creating a family culture where children learn to ask before doing something. And particularly in this scenario, it was because we talked about start saying yes more often. They ask, can I do this? Can I do that? Try to say yes as often as you can. Of course, we talked about like that doesn't mean saying yes to screen time all the time or video games, but like finding a way to let them do the things they want to do in a way that works for you as well, right?
And
instead of no all the time.
Is from toddlers to teens to young adults, because they're going to come with big asks.
Yeah.
They're going to come and say, hey, mom and dad, can I go to New Zealand? And you're like, no, it's so far, so expensive. No. Or you've never traveled. You can't go just, and your fears go off or whatever. And our daughter comes to us. She's like, I really want to go to North Korea.
Well, she went to Tajikistan.
Yeah.
And
walked along the border of Afghanistan.
By herself.
Yeah.
I mean, she met a group there, but all by herself. So, and she's 19. But that doesn't start with the big ask. It starts with the smaller things like, can I touch this? Can I eat that? Can I play this? Can I, whatever.
But I want to emphasize that it's across the board, the whole spectrum. So I don't want, if you have older kids, you're like, oh, this isn't for me because I don't, they're talking about little kids. This principle applies across the whole range and from little things to massive things.
But then the point they brought up was, well, how do you create this culture of them actually asking? Because if you don't, they're just doing it anyways. They're not asking. And in fact, I think one of the moms said, I would have never asked my parents to do certain things. I would just do it and then tell them like I did that. Where we have created a culture where our kids actually ask us or tell us, let us know everything they're doing because we have said yes to so many things within a framework, within a boundary. Again, that's not like they're wild, crazy, doing whatever. They actually have more respect and more manners and whatnot because of this, as opposed to the opposite where they're wild, crazy. They just do whatever they want, whenever they want. So it's a culture of mutual respect going both ways. So
I want to clarify though, because it makes it sound, it's kind of coming across. And even when this question came in, I was like, oh, well, I don't want it to come across that your kids should ask for everything. You really don't. Like, ultimately, we want our children to be self-led. They're self-directed. And there should be a ton of things that they can do without asking permission.
Yeah, it's not about micromanaging
Right.
them.
Exactly. Because some parents will hear this and be like, yes, I want my kids to come ask me before they do anything.
Right.
Like, no, you don't. That's not the goal.
Yeah. And that's actually kind of why I said, because I said, oh, our kids will come and ask us. And I'm like, actually, now they just tell us things like, oh, we're driving to Germany. Okay, cool. Have fun.
Have a great trip.
So you're right. It's not like they're asking us for everything because we have used this framework and quote unquote trained them. We know that they make good decisions. We're not worried about them going to Tajikistan by themselves. We're not worried about them driving to Germany by themselves because they're smart, they're capable, they know how to make good decisions, they know how to be safe, they know how to take safe risks. Like, we're not worried about it because of this framework we're going to be talking about. So she's saying, how do you actually begin with creating the culture where when your kids are little, and she says, and you're in survival mode, especially when you have multiple children and a newborn. They said they would love to be able to say no less often and have their kids learn to ask first, but sometimes they feel like they're just trying to keep everyone alive. For example, while we were talking, one of the moms was breastfeeding her newborn outside while her 2-year-old was playing nearby. He moved a chair, climbed onto the hard shell of the hot tub, moved himself right to the edge, looked around, and then tried to jump from the hot tub onto the concrete. So she yelled, "Stop." So the basic question is, how did you teach your kids from a young age to naturally come and ask you before doing things rather than having to constantly tell them no or stop them from doing something? Was there something intentional you did to build that into your family culture?
Love it. Such a great question and a challenging scenario.
Right. So as we answer every question, and I think I'm just going to have to preface this every episode so you realize every single scenario has to be looked at from multiple levels. Like every parenting problem, you have to look at it from multiple levels. So when we're giving answers, they are on different levels. The foundational levels are things like attachment, security, boundaries, right? But then there's...
Well, it's relationship and love. Yeah. I got to throw this in there because I think this is so critical. So many kids will start sneaking things and start doing things because they've heard no from you so many times. Right. In their mind, they just see you as a big no.
Right. So they're like why bother asking?
If I go ask, I know it's going to be a no.
Right.
And in fact, did you experience this as a teen? I remember as a teen, I'm with my buddies. I'm like, hey, let's go do something. And they're like, man, my mom is a guaranteed no. Let's go ask my dad, right? Or they're like, my parents will just say no, let's just do it. And if I get in trouble, I get in trouble. They just knew, like it was already like no, or it was the opposite. No, my dad's a hard no. Let's see if my mom goes for it. Or like there was times I was like, hey, let's go do this. And it wasn't even bad stuff. We weren't doing bad things. I was like, hey, bro, let's go do this cool thing. And he's like, dude, why even try? I know my parents will just say no. So the parents were a no. The kids associated no. Even as a 2-year-old, it's like, no. They're like, I'm just going to go do it.
So, and the point here, I think the framework I want to have around this is that we are always trying to give a conditional yes. So instead of an automatic no, and I think our kids know this about us. That's why they are willing to ask in the first place, even from a young age. They know we're going to give a conditional yes. And that means yes, within these parameters. If you want to jump off the hot tub, yes. Now, if you're 2, you probably need mom or dad to hold your hand while you jump. But the answer is yes, you can jump off the hot tub, but I need to hold your hand. So as we're answering these questions, I want to make it clear that I'm going to give answers based off of what you already have in place in your family culture, because the answers are different, right? If you have a full family culture where they're used to no, they're going to automatically try and do it because they're like, what's the point of asking? I'm going to get a no.
Even like, can you see in
As
your
a
mind's
2-year-old.
eye? They see you and they see you
It's like,
about
do
to
it
say no.
before-
And they see them, they're like, oh no, she's coming. Like, I'm going to do it because I
Right.
know she's going to say no.
Exactly.
Or it's instead of stop or no, it's like, hey, wait. Let me help you.
So if it was me in this scenario and I didn't already have a culture of the kids coming to ask me, what I would do is I would say, do you want to jump off there? Right? So I get their attention and they're like, yes. I'm like, yeah, great. I'll help you. I'll help you jump off. Just give me a minute while I finish feeding the baby. Okay. Now, depending on the
They love
child,
that.
right? Depending on the child, right? And how conditioned they are to what you've already been doing, they may just jump off anyways. And you know what? If they do,
Well,
okay.
except in when we were talking with our daughter, she's like, it was onto concrete. It wasn't on the grass or anything. So
I get
in
that
that case, you're going to be stop or wait.
Or I might say, hey, hold on. Kaya's going to come help you and she's going to come hold your hand so you can jump off.
Yep.
So you're telling them you're going to help them do the thing they want to do.
Yep.
Whenever you tell a child that, they listen to you better. They're like, oh, you're going to help me do this?
Yep.
So they don't automatically rebel by jumping off. They're like, oh, you're going to help me do it. Okay. So I would do one of those two things. I would either say, you want to jump off? I'm going to help you jump off. But let me finish with the baby. Or you want to jump? Kaya's going to help you jump off so you don't get hurt. She's going to come hold your hand so you can jump. So you're basically telling, I'm going to let you do the thing you want with these conditions. It's a conditional yes, right? So as you go through your days and all the things that are happening, you're looking for, okay, how can I say yes, but have these conditions to it? Yes, you can jump if you're holding someone's hands. Yes, you can jump if you jump onto the grass. Yes, you can jump if whatever.
Yes, you can climb trees, but this one's over a whole bunch of rocks.
Right.
And this one is over the grass. And I would teach them, yes, you can climb the tree. Let's climb this one instead. Come here, look. This one has a bunch of rocks underneath and this one has grass. Come climb this one. Or
So
this one has better
actually-
branches.
That's actually another level. Like if we're talking about the levels here, this is where you start training your children how to think and analyze risk and to make good decisions because you're actually walking them through the scenario. And in fact, that's another thing I would even do with my 2-year-old. I would say, I want you to be able to jump off that, but if you jump onto the concrete, it's going to really hurt. Or you could break your legs, maybe, depending on how far down it is. So you're walking him through verbally, you're like narrating the scenario. But essentially, you're taking, the reason we're saying no is because we're afraid of certain things.
Or we have rules, usually your social rules. We have all these rules in our heads.
Right.
And so it's just no.
So rather than keeping that within our head and just saying no, like a blanket no, I'm narrating it. I'm verbalizing it. I'm saying, if you jump there, you can get hurt. So I want you to hold someone's hand. So when you jump, you don't get hurt. And then they're like, okay, yeah. And that makes sense. And now you're creating this neural connection in their brain of how to think about these scenarios. So now you actually reduce your own fear because you're training your children to learn how to think about danger and taking risks.
And we did this thousands of times.
Oh, yeah.
And so it would be something like, yeah, you can do that, buddy, but that would hurt. What if we take one of these cushions over here or an old mattress or pillow? Let me bring this over on this side. Okay, now jump. And we would facilitate it. Go, do that. Every kid wants to climb on the table. And so picnic tables. So let's imagine you're the partner, there's several picnic tables and you just laid out all your whole picnic and they want to climb on the table. Of course they do. And so like, no, stop, no. Like climbing is so fun, huh? It looks so cool. We don't want to climb through the food because we're going to eat and you're going to get your shoes all over the food. But look, there's a picnic table over there that nobody's using. Let's go climb that one.
Yeah.
And they climb it, or even at home. Like our kids always love getting on the table.
Absolutely. All the time.
And we were exasperated and like, no, feet on the table. And then I was like, wait a minute. If I put myself in their shoes, that's the coolest thing ever. And so I say, hey, buddy, you can climb on the table after we're done or when there's no food, you can climb. And then we're going to wipe it down afterwards because your little feet were all over where we eat.
And no shoes. No shoes on the table. Right.
So here's the deal.
Like, yes,
you can when there's no meal and you're going to help me wipe it down and clean it up because we do eat there. Okay, yeah, great. The principle is yes with conditions. Say yes as often as you can because you're trying to think through their age and stage. Mm-hmm. And so kids like, they're learning how to drive and they're like, Dad, I want to drive super fast. Okay? Cool. Do you want a gigantic ticket and then like get your license revoked? Well, no. Do you want to like hit a dog or something or get in a
car.
crash? Okay, so where can we speed?
Where can we drive fast
Yeah.
safely?
Safely,
And
where
you go
there's
find
where it's
that
not
place.
illegal and you're not going to hurt yourself or anybody else.
Mhm.
And then we go like, yeah, let's go fast. It's great. You want to learn how to ride a motorcycle? Fantastic. Let me teach you. We'll walk through the dangers. You want to do this crazy drop? You want to do this rock climbing thing? I mean, all these different scenarios. You say yes. Let's figure out how to do it right, how to do it well.
Right. So I want to add to this as well, because there's another element to this that is useful, especially when you go to places where you can't necessarily say yes all the time. Like if you go to your in-laws' house or somebody's house where they're not allowed to get on the table,
Or a
even
nice
if there's no
restaurant.
food. Yeah, or the restaurant or whatever. So you begin, again, training and teaching your children to think about this and recognize different scenarios and that there's different rules for different scenarios. So it's not like never get on the table ever in your entire life. It's like at home, you could get on the table. Here, you could get on the table. At this place, you don't get on the table. At this person's house, you don't get on the table. So you're teaching them that. But one of the things I would do is I would remind them or I would talk to them about it before we went to that place. So even in this scenario with the hot tub, like I don't know the full story. Maybe they're at the neighbor's house. Maybe the neighbor doesn't want them climbing on the hot tub. Now, again, in the scenario where it's already happening, it's kind of too late. But if I knew that this was a problem and I knew that there was a potential, say I know my child loves to climb, I would talk to them before we get there or on the way, like in the car.
Parenting.
You're in the car driving in.
Yep.
And I would even make it a game. I'd be like, okay, we're going to go to their house. Are we going to climb on their table? And they would be like, oh, we're not going to do that. We don't climb on other people's tables, right? Are we going to say please and thank you? Yes, we are going to do that. Are we going to do this? Right. And I would go through like kind of switching back and forth between different scenarios of like good and bad behavior and make it this little game. And they loved it, but it was a reminder to them. And then when we got there, all I would have to do is say, hey, remember, we're not climbing on the table. Oh, remember, we're using please and thank you. And they've already gone through it with you in the car. And so now they're like, oh, yeah, that's right. And so it makes good behavior that much easier.
It's so much easier.
You've already talked through it. And it wasn't in a negative way of like, use your manners or stop doing that, right? It's a positive thing. And so it's positive reinforcement all the way. So that's another super powerful strategy.
Hey there, this is Greg Denning. We want to reach as many people as possible and help as many families as possible with these conversations. And we want to keep this podcast ad-free forever. You can help us do that by subscribing on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen, your favorite platform, and on YouTube. And leave a quick review and share your favorite episodes with friends and family. It makes a big difference. Thank you for being a part of this very important movement. Again, so it's proactive parenting and active parenting. You're thinking through scenarios, which should be doing. It's like you're raising your kids. Like like this is your life. This is your thing. You're a parent, man. Once you have kids, like this, I'm in. And we're going to do this right. We're going to do it well because we want our kids to grow up.
The funny things, I remember realizing that as a parent, like, and you would say this all the time too, like, why do we get surprised when our kids do the things we know they're going to do and then we get upset about it? Like, we know that's going to happen. So instead of reacting negatively, we proactively, positively prevent it by taking these actions and say, and again, a simple thing. You're driving on the way there.
And you talk about it, and then you remind them. Now, a lot of parents will be like, we talked about this on the way over. How dare you? You're like, they're little kids, man. You're going to have to remind them over and over and over. And you might be like, I've told my kids hundreds of times. Yep, keep going.
Yeah.
Because it'll eventually sink in, and it takes repetition.
It absolutely does.
But then you're oh, go ahead.
One more thing, because especially with like the baby scenario, when you have a baby and you're obviously stuck breastfeeding for a while, that was another thing that I would talk to them about. Not necessarily when I'm breastfeeding and I'm stuck, but in between, I would talk to them. I'm like, hey, sometimes I have to sit down. I have to feed the baby. I can't get up and help you. I can't do this or that. So when that happens, let's do this. Let's do XYZ, or you'll just have to wait, or you can sit next to me with this book until I'm done. Like I would come up with these scenarios with them so they understood what was happening, and then they don't get upset. And then try to do things that, of course, I can't prevent because I'm stuck, right? I'm thinking through those scenarios and then taking proactive action to help them understand and me understand, communicate to them so that we all know what to expect when these predictable things happen.
And the key to that, I would say, man, I don't know how to emphasize this enough. So everyone listen up so carefully right here. If you tell them you're going to do something, you have to follow through. A lot of parents will make stuff up. Don't do that at a friend's house. Don't do that. I'll take you to the park afterwards. And the parent knows full well they're just throwing stuff out there to distract them with zero intention of ever taking them to the park. Or, oh, we can do that later. Or I'll make sure we can do that. And they don't. And so the kids hear that and think they're just blowing smoke. They're full of it. And so they create this association of you don't follow through. You say things, your words are empty. But if I say, hey, buddy, you can't climb this right here, but right after we're done, look over there across the street. There's a cool park with trees. We can go climb that. I have to follow through. I have to take them over there.
Absolutely.
And they climb the tree. They do the thing, or I say, I'll take you to the park, or look at that cool bench. We can go jump off of that. Then we go out and we do it. And they're like, boom, I can trust my dad.
Right.
I can listen to my mom. I can believe them. In this scenario, I will pause and hold back on what I want to do because I believe my parents. And afterwards, we're going to have so much fun. So kids want a roughhouse. And they want to be super loud.
Let me pause for 1 second because I feel like that's so important. You will be amazed with the amount of self-control your children can have when they recognize, and cooperation, when they recognize that they can and will be able to do what they want, and you will help them do it because you keep your word. Like, it's a real thing. And so because of that, they're like, okay, I can behave here. Children misbehave most often because they feel like they have no outlet and they can't trust anyone.
Yeah.
So why would they listen to you? Because it doesn't matter. They never get to do what they want to do.
Yep.
It's always about what you want. They're sick of it, and they can't necessarily articulate this because they're 2 or 3 or 5 or 15. But that's what's happening on a psychological, spiritual level. Like, they're tired of being controlled by you all the time. Now think about it. We all know this. We've all been children ourselves. Many of us rebelled. I rebelled. We hated being controlled. So if you learn how to help your child to do what they want to do, facilitate these experiences. So yeah, you can't do this here, but we'll do it there. They trust you. And that's how you build not only this relationship of trust, but also you help them to develop self-control.
Yep. And they're good at it.
Right.
They're really good at it.
Because they know they'll have an outlet for it.
So then here's the scenario. Well, kids just want to be out of control sometimes. They want to be as loud as they can, as crazy as they can. They want a roughhouse. They want to get dirty. I mean, filthy. They want to break things and destroy things and make a mess. So as a good parent, you think, where can my kids be out of control? You're like, oh, there's a forest down the road. They can go make all the noise they want. Like, I'll bring buckets of water. We will make a mud hole and they can get as filthy as they want. Right. You want a rough house? Okay, I'm buying mats. I'm buying boxing gloves. You guys can beat each other senseless, like with these pads or whatever, or you can beat me. We're going to sign up for jujitsu or martial arts. Go to the beach. I love the beach because when you're at the beach, like with the waves and stuff, you can be so loud and dig huge holes and bury yourself and run and scream and splash in the water and roll in the sand and throw rocks out to water. I mean, you can do all the crazy things you want to do. You can be wild.
Right.
And they love that. They're like, oh, I have an outlet. It's these kids. I remember having coaching sessions with a mom, and moms have a hard time understanding boys' psychology. Boys just have this need to break things.
But I think all little kids, in a way, have
they want to,
some of that need.
They want to just have this outlet. Yeah. So I'm like, you have to regularly, at least once a week, hopefully more. You have to take your son to a place where he can be a wild man, and you encourage it. And you're like, bro, just go crazy.
Mhm.
I'll take you to the trampoline park. They have those little foam pits. Just do whatever you want,
Right.
buddy. The craziest flip, the wildest things. Go bonkers. And if he knows he has that every week or a couple times a week, and you're like, hey, bud, here, your baby sister's taking a nap, and I don't want you rough racing right here. Remember, tomorrow we're going to the class. Tomorrow we're going to the
or
gym.
even tonight when dad gets home.
Yeah, tonight
and you can wrestle.
You can go crazy.
Right. And like, this doesn't have to be, see, as moms are thinking about this, I don't want this to be like another project you have to take on, right? Of creating this environment for your kids, because that's also not the approach. We were very much, it's kind of this interesting dichotomy. We weren't reactive parents, but in a way we were reactive parents because we were trying to find conditional ways to say yes to the things our kids were coming to us about. So we're not like orchestrating all these activities and events and things to make sure our kids are properly roughhoused, you know?
We weren't like hyper scheduled.
It wasn't something we were doing.
Yeah.
In this way, we were responding to them. So they would come to us and be like, we want to build a fort. Okay, let's figure out how I can say yes to that, right? We want to get dirty. Right? Okay, let me figure out how to say yes and like where the boundary is for that dirt to stop. You know what I'm saying? Like, where do I spray you off with the hose before you come into my house? You know what I'm saying? I'm getting creative about how to say yes to their asks. Now, again, this kind of ties back into the question, well, what if they don't ask, right? Because you've already created that environment of them not asking. In that case, you change the environment by not getting mad at the things that they are already doing. And so say they go out and they get covered with mud. Instead of me getting upset, I'm going to say like, oh my gosh, you guys had so much fun. Look at you. You are so dirty. And I would make it a positive thing. And then they'd be like, yeah, we did. And I'd be like, okay, before you come in the house, let's spray you off with the hose, or let's take all your clothes off, or whatever.
And you might even ask some questions there. It's like, what happens if you guys walked into your rooms right now? What would happen? And they're like, there would be mud all over the carpet in our bedroom. Yeah, do you guys want to scrub the floors? Like, no. Okay, what has to happen? We got to clean. Yep. It's going to be the hose. It's going to be cold. Okay, let's have a little party. And everything's positive, but you're teaching them how to think.
Right. And then I might also say, be like, this is awesome. And say something happened I didn't like about it, right? Like, I don't know, maybe they made a mess in the yard or they, whatever. I'm keeping it positive. And then I would say, hey, next time, will you make sure to ask me first? Because I would prefer if you do this here so that this doesn't get messed up or this doesn't get ruined. So it's all positive. But I'm teaching them, first I'm teaching them there's nothing wrong with being a kid. It is okay for you to get dirty and make messes. That's fine. What's not okay is for you to get that on my carpet or for you to track it in the house or for you to ruin XYZ, right? So I'm teaching that while being positive about the experience of being a kid, right? So that's how you kind of frame it up for them. And if you have those interactions, right, then you begin to shift the culture from doing it without mom knowing, because she'll say no anyways, to mom likes it when we have fun. Let's check with her to make sure we're not going to ruin something or we're not going to whatever, right? And they begin to do it because they see you as someone who wants to say yes, who is going to facilitate it and is not going to get upset at them for having fun.
Yep. And as you start creating that culture, they'll come to you to ask for things, and there'll be some things you're like, hey, thanks. But with that, you don't have to ask me anymore. You can just do it. Whenever you want to do that, you can go ahead and do that.
Yeah, as long as you do it here in this place, in this way, or whatever, like you have the boundaries.
And so like we did that a lot as parents, like here's all your crafting stuff. Here are the things you can just do this all the time. Here's food. Here are healthy snacks.
Especially if you can clean
eat
it up.
Whenever you want. Yeah. As long as you clean up, as long as you take care of this, as long as you don't trust, you can go. You can have as much as you want of this, or you can do as much of that. And then there are other things they do it and be like, hey, with that, we need you to ask us each time because sometimes we have plans or we have a strategy or I'm working on something with this specific thing, just come ask us each time and I'll give you some direction. Mm-hmm. And so that really facilitated that. So they'll come ask like, yep, you can do this if you do this and do that. It was powerful. I want to bring up a scenario from a coaching session recently. I was talking to the dad and his 3-year-old was under the bed, just playing, which is, again, fantastic. Like that's where they should be. His sister gets down under and sticks her head in there. And so the little guy's like, look, a head, and kicks her in the face. Right. And we were walking through this scenario. I'm like, that's 3-year-old thinking. And he's like, yeah, but I told him we're not supposed to kick people. I'm like, yeah, he knows that kind of. But when he's 3 and he's like, somebody just put their head right there by my foot, I can kick it. And so she had a big old nosebleed. And so they got upset. I was walking through, I was like, have to let our children act their age. Does that mean we allow him to kick people in the face? No, but we're not going to get super angry and get after him, scold him, and hurt the relationship. We are going to teach him like, hey, buddy, that hurts. Look how much blood, and she's crying. She's hurting so bad. I know you love to kick. Here are things you can kick. Like, you want to kick? Come kick me in the shin or in the calf, or let's get a kicking pad and let's get the ball. You can kick it as much as you want. And so I'm directing that. As the dad, I'm not going to get angry because I realize he was just thinking like a 3-year-old. And it is not fair. I got to drive this home. It is absolutely unfair for me to expect my 3-year-old to think like a 5-year-old. That's not fair. He has to be able to think like a 3-year-old. Now I'm guiding and correcting and teaching, but I'm not going to come down hard on him for being 3.
I think especially, and I know that we don't naturally think like this as a parent, but in a scenario like that, the natural consequence has already occurred.
Yep.
He did the kicking and she's bleeding. So he now knows, my gosh, I just did that. Now, what we don't always realize, and I think that we need to be more aware of this, if we also get upset at him, not only is she wounded, but now he's also wounded.
Yep.
So we don't always think about it that way, but it's almost like we're kicking back. We're kicking our 3-year-old by getting upset at him.
And all that's doing is hurting the relationship.
It's hurting the relationship with him. So now he's emotionally wounded. She's physically wounded. Everybody's wounded. Nobody's better off here. So in a scenario like that, I'm generally also going to be comforting both of them because she's going to
feel so bad.
And he's going to feel bad unless he's like a psycho, right? Which at 3 years old is unlikely. He's going to feel bad that he's hurt someone else. And I need to know that. I need to remember that. He's feeling bad. So I'm going to comfort him and her. And I'm going to say, my gosh, this is so sad that she's hurting now. And I know you probably feel bad.
He'll be hugging her.
Yeah.
Like if this is handled right.
You want to facilitate
a
positive response as much as possible of like, he's feeling bad. So instead of putting the focus on him being in trouble for doing this thing, we facilitate and focus on the healing for everybody, which is going to include the hugging, the loves, and maybe it's a simple thing of like, yeah, we got to be careful. We can't kick in the face because it hurts, right? So it's a soft, gentle, just pointing out the obvious rather than what's wrong with you? You're such a bad person. Not that we're saying that, but sometimes that's how it comes across is like, you're a bad person because you did this, when that's not true. It was a mistake.
Some of you are thinking, wait, but my 3-year-old kicks everybody in the face multiple times a day.
That's another scenario.
Do I keep doing like gentle parenting? Like, son, please don't do that. I know you feel bad. And he's like, ha, 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 ha.
Yeah.
Like at that point, you're like,
that's
okay, this has to stop.
Level.
Buddy, yeah, exactly. So it's a different level. And you're like, nope, we do not do that.
Right.
And that's like, I use my growl voice. I'm like, we do not do that. Come here. And then my come here, take him away. I'm not being rough or mean. I'm taking him over and I'm like, you kick this thing until you can't stand up because you're so tired. And like, I'm going to do different scenarios. So I'm holding a hard boundaries like this cannot happen, but I realize you're still 3 or 5 or 7.
Right.
And I know you still think it's fun, but I'm telling you, buddy, in this case, I'm the boss here and do not cross that line. And here's something better you can do.
Right. So, and that's good. This is another illustration of how there's different levels to answering the problem based on the past behaviors of the child. So yeah, if it was a habitual thing, of course not. You're not going to respond in that way. It's going to be, and this ties into what we talked about in our last episode, the one before this, of sometimes it is a very physical restraining of like, hey, you've crossed the line. This has happened too many times. I am now going to hold you or whatever. I'm going to actually have a severe consequence. Maybe even it is a spanking in a scenario like that, right? Where hey, you've done this 3 times today. You're getting a spanking for this because it is unacceptable. Yep. There has to be a strong enough consequence so that they know you are serious about how serious this actually is. Yeah, again, the barking, the mean voices. We explained this in detail in the last episode, so don't take it the wrong way. Go back and listen to that. All from a place of love as the parent, but firmly holding those boundaries and your authority because certain things are just not allowed, and kicking people is one of them.
Yep. And so look for natural consequences as much as possible. Natural consequences should do the heavy lifting.
Yeah, but if it becomes habitual, then it needs some intervention.
Some intervention, and it'll depend on each kid. So with my first son, just a gentle
the wrong look.
a look or a gentle word would do the trick. For the second son, we thought, we can do the same thing. Nope. His response is totally different. And so in one scenario, it might be, I'm going to give you a little pop on the butt with a little spanking, but that might not work at all. Maybe the kid, they just want total freedom. And so hey, you got to sit here on my lap and I'm going to hold you for a few minutes. That's torture. That's the worst thing ever. And sorry, buddy, you crossed the line. I told you, you have to sit here on my lap. And he's like, no. I'm like, yep, you did it. And he's fighting, throwing his head. And no, we're going to sit here. I love you. You crossed the line, bud.
Well, and just to clarify here, an approach like that for us is always preferable to say a timeout.
Yep. Or go to your room, solitary confinement.
Better to restrain them or to discipline them in your presence than to send them away or to make them go off because they're not.
Think about that as a kid.
Isolation is not really
I'm so angry at you. You did wrong. You're bad. Get out of my presence.
You keep them with you and you talk to them in a loving way, but saying, hey, I'm doing this because I love you and it's not okay for you to behave in this way. So you've got to learn to control yourself as soon as, and with the holding scenario, as we explained in the last episode, you hold them and you say, hey, when you calm down, when you can control yourself, I'll let you go. Yep. And so they're learning this self-control, but it's done with you, not, hey, you're over there by yourself or in your room by yourself, because that doesn't help build the relationship with you.
Yep. And it's worth the reminder that the relationship is the most important piece. There's a lot of parenting books, strategies. There's a lot of quote experts out there, and now everybody and their dog's giving parenting advice. And it's interesting. I always smile or chuckle a little bit when parents with young kids are giving parenting advice. Give that 10 years. We'll see.
Or 20.
Or we'll see how it comes out because they might get an immediate result or reaction.
Right.
But because we've had this experience for so long, and I was working with teens long before I was working with teens before we got married, but long before before the kids and stuff. So I saw this playing out over and over and over, after they're teens or young adults. And so it's a relationship that matters so much because you might take a strategy that gets you immediate reaction and you're like, yeah, this works. I'm going to share it online. I'm going to tell people how good this works. But what you don't realize is what that effect will have 10 years from now.
Right.
Because it'll work for these first few years, but as soon as the kids are older and they start withdrawing anyways, if they have that association with you, they withdraw massively. And so you're like, man, this worked so well. Our kids were so obedient when they were little, and now they're just absolute rebellious teenagers. I'm like, well, yeah, you created that.
Yeah, I remember seeing some parenting tips given from, she had 7 kids, but they were all under the age of 12. And she had a huge following. And I just, my daughter sent me this reel. This was a few years ago from her and was like, oh, isn't this a good approach? And I remember watching it no, this is terrible.
I felt so bad. Yeah.
This is a horrible approach. And she was like, well, wait, why? And so I walked through it. I'm like, what's happening here is you're actually damaging the relationship with the child so maybe in the short term, it's getting you the result you want. She did the whole timeout thing with like a 2-year-old and it worked and he calmed down and, all these things. But I'm like, but there was more to it than this, but like, this isn't actually working because you're damaging the relationship.
Yeah.
And as these kids get older, they're going to have quote unquote issues because this just happens to everyone. It's just how it works. Attachment issues so that the relationship you want, because we have to remember when we're parenting our kids, it's not just about having good behavior and obedience and all these things when they're young. It's about being able to be friends with them when they grow up. We now have kids in their 20s. Our oldest kids are all in their 20s. They like us and they want to be our friends. But that didn't happen by accident. And
we got to say they're great humans who are very capable. It's not like they're little peons that can't do anything. They're completely incapable and they live in our basement and they just follow us around and they're like, we can't go out in the world. Can we just stay with you, mom and dad, always, forever? It's like, you want your kids to be super capable, wonderful adults that you like being around.
Right.
And they still like you. So there's love and respect, there's friendship. That's the ultimate result.
Yeah. So it's not about like being friends with your kids while they're young, but you do have to keep in mind that when they are grown up, you do want to be their friend.
Yeah.
You want to be friends with your kids as adults. Well, and people forget that that's going to happen. And so instead they do these parenting strategies where then their kids hate them or don't enjoy.
Within 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. And don't enjoy spending time with them. Yeah. And so they move out and never want to come back. And you're like, well, at least I got them to wash their dish when they were a kid.
I literally hear that, Rach, from parents saying, well, they can't stand me, but at least I got them, I got them to 18.
Right.
And they survived. I'm moving out. They don't want to have anything to do with me, but I did a good job. Not by my standard, you didn't.
Yeah.
And I talk to the kids. I work with teens every day. And all these teens are like, I wish I could move out at 15. I wish I could move out at 16.
Or so many parents are like, I can't wait for them to leave at 18.
Yeah, exactly. Because they can't stand each other.
Like we love being with, again, not that they're little pansies that can't do anything. We love being with our kids and they love being with us. They're respectful, they're obedient, they're competent, they're capable. That happens because we're not just focusing on getting the immediate result in our parenting. Pick the thing up, put it away, be obedient, do what I say. We're focused on building the relationship with them over time for the long term, right? So we're getting both things. We're getting what we want now and what we want long term. But if necessary, we need to sacrifice what we want now, which is obedience from our kid, for what we want long term, which is a relationship with them. And you should always keep that in mind.
And for them to be self-directed and guiding, not just obedient.
To do what you say.
Yeah, when the authority figure's there.
Exactly.
We don't have to get into this now, but ultimately what's happening is the physiology and psychology is always built on patterns. And so the thing that's repeated again and again and again is the thing that sticks. And so every single human being lives their lives on patterns, and most of those patterns are subconscious. So we avoid the things we dislike and we pursue the things that bring pleasure. So it's pleasure and pain. So in this case, as a kid, you're just over and over and over, you're making your kids do something. Do it, do this. And they do it and they follow along. And the parents are like, see, I'm a good parent. And they jump online, they share videos, they tell everyone how good they are because they make their kids do things. Where they're creating this association. The kid hates it. Kid's crying. They do it because little kids will do anything
to please their parents.
Never forget that. Your kids will do anything and everything to please you. Like it's built into them. They want to make you proud.
Even if it's damaging to their soul and psyche.
Yep. And so they'll do it. They'll follow you to do it because they just want to please you. But what you're doing is creating negative association, negative. And so let's say it's with exercise or cleaning or whatever. As soon as that kid becomes a teen or a young adult, they're like, I'm never doing that again.
Sometimes it happens when they're younger. I remember hearing from this mom, she was like, my child, when he was like 2 or 3, he was just so pleasant and easygoing and easy to get along. And he just did everything I wanted and everything. But as soon as he turned 4, it was like something switched and he's never gone back. And I'm like, yeah.
Yep.
Because that's what was happening. He got tired of always doing everything you wanted. We have to remember our children are people and they want to do what they want to do. And the best way for us to teach them to do the right thing, right? To make good choices, to do what God wants them to do what you want them to do. Because really, we want them to be obedient and to do what we want them to do because we want the best for them. But the best way to get that is to teach them to want that for themselves. And we can't teach that to them if we're forcing them to do it. We have to teach them to choose it themselves by giving them freedom of choice and guiding their actions and giving them reasons why this is a better choice.
Yep.
And letting them make the decision instead of us making the decision for them.
They choose on their own and it's a pleasant, positive experience. They'll do it for the rest of their lives.
Right.
I force them. It's a negative experience. As soon as they don't have to, they'll choose not to. They'll avoid it. So that association is so powerful. And it'll stick. It'll literally hardwire in their heads if you do something, thousands of times, it's done, period. If you add intense emotion to it, like real anger, insulting, like just lots of energy, positive or negative, it literally only takes 2 to 3 dozen times. Let that sink in.
To essentially hardwired into
the head.
Their neural connections in their brain.
So, and it goes positive or negative. So 2 dozen really negative experiences with something hardwired. And this is all research-based, all science, it's all in there. It is hardwired into their psyche. Now do it on the positive side, 2 or 3 dozen super positive, super high emotion, high energy. It's hardwired into their psyche.
So that's for either good or bad behavior.
Yeah.
So you can create the good behaviors and then it's basically locked in for them. Train up a child in the way he will go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it. Like that's right there, the psychology.
Exactly. And psychology and physiology. It's hardwired into the body too.
Into your body and brain, which this is where I really start to geek out with stuff because then this is things where it even gets into epigenetics, where it talks about, let's call them generational curses or like the results of the sins of the fathers being passed on. I mean, it literally is
just gets perpetuated,
wired into your brain and body. But our job as a parent is to do that in a positive way as opposed to the negative way, so that they say, "Oh, I want to follow you. I want to follow God. I want to make the good choices. I want to
do hard things.
I want to be a good person. I want to, they want to do these things. It's a positive reinforcement and it is locked in, wired in, and they won't depart from that.
I was in the gym this morning with all 3 of my boys and we were working out
15,
hard,
21 and 22.
And they're pushing hard. We were sparring super hard yesterday. I mean, we were going all out. It was crazy. They love it. They love exercising hard. They love intermittent fasting. They love challenges. And it wasn't because I forced them to do it when they're little. I showed them that I do it. So their whole lives, they saw me doing it and I did it in a way that was like, this is awesome. It's super hard. I'm burning. I'm sweating. I'm struggling, but I love this. And they would just watch and think, this is crazy. I could just see them process. That does not look fun at all, but they're watching. And I wasn't like, this is horrible. This is so bad. I have to do it. This sucks. I was like, oh yeah, we get a grind. And I get a smile. I get a laugh. I would joke. Like I would be struggling and still creating humor, things to laugh about, just being positive. So I'm creating this positive association. And then of course they wanted to start joining. I want to do push-ups with you, Dad. I want to do air squats with you. I want to do these hard things with you. Great, come on. And I would let them go as much as they wanted. And as soon as they quit, I'm like, hey, go a little bit more. Okay. And then I got you and I'd pick them up. And then, okay, down again. And then you go. And I wasn't go. I'm going to until they're crying and they're hurting. And I'm forcing them to finish it because all I'm doing there is creating a negative neuroassociation that will stick with them.
So instead, it was a focus on praising the effort, encouraging them to push harder, right? But ultimately letting them decide, right? Because that's where you're not only just building the physical muscles, you're building the mental, emotional, spiritual muscles because they're getting to have the experience of like, okay, do I have more in me? Do I push harder? Where is my limit? That's what you want. It's not up to you to tell them or for you to decide. No, you get to keep going. You get to try harder.
It's up to them.
They have to decide.
Exactly.
They have to develop that muscle.
Yes, Rach, that's so powerful and so profound, because when I'm not there, what are they going to do?
Right.
They're going to do what they've trained themselves to do. They get to
stop
decide
until dad keeps telling them to go.
Exactly.
Whereas opposed if you let them train that part of themselves, they push themselves. They keep pushing their limits instead of waiting for someone else to tell them.
Now I don't have to go out to the gym and they'll go. I don't have to go on a run with them and they'll run and they'll push as hard as they can. Like, that's what I wanted.
You don't have to summit Kilimanjaro, and they still will.
And they still summited, yeah.
Which is what happened.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's awesome. So again, big emphasis here: proactive parenting, creative parenting,
saying conditionally yes, conditional yeses.
Which, of course, it requires more of you as the parent. You've got to think of ways to make it happen, and you got to follow through. So it's more of you. But again, that's what we're.
And as we're closing here, I just want to give a real logistical strategy to a mom, because moms think, again, like in the question, I'm just trying to keep everyone alive. One of the things I literally just do is I just talk out loud. This isn't necessarily like adding more to your plate. You might feel like that. And I've heard parents say, like, well, I don't want to have to explain everything to my children. Well, what do you want in the long run? Do you want a relationship with them? Do you want them to learn how to think and make good choices? Just start talking out loud, right? Narrate what you're thinking. When they're asking you a question, and I do this still all the time. When my kids ask me something and I'm thinking I'm busy, I've got this, I can't, instead of me just saying no, I'm like, well, I've got to do this, and then I've got to do that, and then I've got to do this. And then we problem solve together, where they're like, okay, well, I'll help with this and I'll do this, and then we can do it. Okay, great. Let's do that. So I'm narrating my thoughts, my hesitations, my concerns, and you can do this even with young children. Like, even a 2-year-old can understand basic concepts if you just verbalize it out loud of, hey, I'm really worried if you do that because of this. What if we do this instead? And then that won't happen. And this. So I'm talking it out loud. I'm narrating it out loud. And that helps them learn how to think. And at the same time, it helps me feel less overwhelmed because I'm verbalizing my concerns, or I'm verbalizing my thought process while I'm looking for solutions, right? This isn't just like dumping your worries on your child.
Well, that's what I was going to say. That only works if you have healthy psychology that you're working on.
Yeah.
Because how many of us have met moms, grandmas who they did verbalize, but what they verbalized, they were dumping all their mental illness and all their garbage.
So you also need to be training yourself of like, hey, well, I'm worried if you do this, you'll get hurt. So how can we, this is your retraining. How can you do it in a way that will help me feel better because you'll be safe type thing? So you are training yourself as well to not be the worry wart.
Because otherwise you're manipulating, scaring the crap out of your kid. We have friends, close friends. Her mother was afraid of everything and never went anywhere. And so what she was verbalizing is, you can't trust anyone. You can't ever go to the big city. People with red hair are evil. You can't be around them. And it was just on and on. It was just this constant barrage of fear and worry. And so it was weird manipulation. It was just poor mental health. And so that gets passed on generationally. We're not talking about that. So when Rachel's saying verbalize, you're like, okay, I'm going to dump it all on there. You're like, well, you got to make sure you have healthy psychology and you're thinking through this well. If you're in constant fear, you got to fix that crap. And if it's worry and anger and bitterness and you're just constantly just toxic in your own head, don't pass that on to your kids.
Don't dump it on your small
children. That's messed up.
And so in a scenario like that, I would still verbalize and narrate, but I might say something like, I'm having a lot of confusing feelings about this, or I'm not really sure about this. So I need some time to think about it, or I need some time to talk to dad about it. So it's not like, oh, don't do that. It's explaining to them why you're hesitating, why you're not sure about it, right? Because again,
I like that one where you say, I don't know. Let me talk to dad.
It makes me uncomfortable for some reason, not sure.
I will talk to you about this. I will figure this out. I don't know.
Because again, I know that we all like this idea, this romantic idea of just having obedient children, and you say yes and they do, and you say no, but that's not realistic, and nor does that train children how to think. And so, yes, in some ways it feels like more work to have to think about the answers, to have to articulate why it's a yes or why it's a no, to be more creative about how to make it a yes, right? But I guess what we're saying is, if you want different results than the rest of the world is getting, this is what it takes, because you can't do what everyone else is doing and get something different.
Exactly. It's the extra in front of
Right.
ordinary.
That's true.
The extraordinary. It really is. And so I guess we're constantly working on ourselves, healing our own issues, our own negativity, toxicity, whatever, so that we're thinking clearly and sharing that so that our kids learn how to think clearly.
Mhm.
Because your kids most likely will end up thinking like you think. And so if you have unhealthy patterns, you'll just pass on unhealthy patterns. If you work on yourself and you create healthy patterns, and you pass on the healthy patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And that's true with every aspect of life.
But the beautiful part about that is you don't have to have arrived. They can watch the journey, and that's also instructive. So it's okay, even when you going back to what you're saying before of like, oh, don't just dump all of your negative thoughts on them. At the same time, if you're sharing the process of learning, going, figuring it out, proving, that is also valuable. So don't feel like, oh, I can't say anything, right? I have to hold it all inside because I'm not perfect yet. That also is not helpful, because then they don't get to see the transformation and observe of like, oh, if I have a negative habit, I can change that.
Yep.
If I'm doing something that I shouldn't be doing, I can repent, right? That's what repentance is about. It's like having a change of heart and a change of action. They should see that. They should see you essentially repenting and changing.
Yeah, I love that. Don't place your burden on your kids. Sometimes parents, either purposely or inadvertently, is like, well, you make me feel this way, or you cause me to, you're making me this. And these poor kids feel like
Right.
it's their responsibility to make sure mom is happy or dad's not upset. And so they're walking on pins and needles or eggshells or whatever. They're just constantly afraid. Like, and then poor kid feels this heavy burden of having to take care of the parent. That's so opposite of everything it is. Like, hey, I got you, child. You're my child. I got this. I'm okay. Like,
yeah. So that's a really good, just again, as we're talking about this, there's always levels, right? And so this is another level here of, yeah, we're talking about narrating, verbalizing, but it's not in a way that's placing the burden on them. You're wording it in a way of you don't word it in a way of, you make me feel this way, you scare me, you whatever. It's not blaming them. It's saying, I feel uncertain when you do that, or I have some anxiety that I need to overcome. Right? We're talking about the part we need to change, the repenting we need to do, not placing the blame on them for causing us to feel these ways.
Yeah, so don't like, hey kids, I have depression, so don't do this, or I have anxiety. It's like you're passing on the wrong things. Like, hey, I'm feeling discouraged. I'm feeling anxious and afraid. I'm working on this. Let's work through this, but don't take on this identity and then dump it on the kids.
And then
that's
blame
just,
them.
Yeah, that's messed up.
Contributing to it.
Yep. Okay, that's it. Thanks, you guys. Reminder, we're starting a brand new Habits for a Successful Life class that I'm super crazy stoked about.
For teenagers.
It's for teens and young adults. Essentially 14 to 22 is what ends up in their mix. And it's just, I've been doing this for 12 years. It's amazing. And we're teaching kids habits. It all comes down to habits, and habits is what builds life, period. Hard stop. It's not talent. It's not intelligence, especially with changes in AI and robotics and the world changing. The thing that's going to matter the most, always has and will even more so now, is habits and those relationships. So we're starting that. Rachel and I do parenting coaching every Wednesday. Jump in on that. And then I coach a group of men, just truly great family men. And we meet Mondays and Thursdays, and it's just so special. So we got resources for moms, for dads, and for teens.
And I am actually launching my new homeschool curriculum. It's Bible-based for as young as age 5
Fantastic.
5 to 18.
Love you guys. Thanks for listening. And be sure to like and share. And if you found it helpful, leave a review and share it with other parents who need these reminders. We're here to tell families and just bless lives and share the things that have worked for us. Nothing even comes close to just a happy marriage and happy, healthy, thriving kids.
Nothing except Jesus.
But Jesus is a part of that. Even if it was just you and Jesus and you had no family, that would suck. So
Maybe.
I'm 100% on that one.
It will be a happy place to have our family together with Jesus.
Exactly, because it's family. I've been lonely. I've been there. I've experienced that when it was just me and God. And I'm grateful for that, but loneliness sucks. So what I'm emphasizing here is how amazing family life is when we do it well. It's so beautiful, so rewarding. One of the greatest things in this life for sure. So it's worth all the efforts. Okay. Love you guys. Thanks for listening. Reach upper.